Hey everyone, this morning I'm wandering around kind of my favorite part of Indianapolis. It's Mass Ave and just the whole area around that. And a question that comes up quite a bit for people who don't know a lot about Indianapolis, and we're talking back and forth, is what do you like about Indianapolis? What are your favorite things, of course, and everything associated with that. So there are lots of things I like about it, and there's some things I don't like about it, just like you'd say about, I think, any place in the entire world. But I'm gonna go through some of the things that I do like about it, and I think these are also some of the things that other people like about living here and things that you might not think about really all that often. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Living in Indianapolis. I'm Jason Compton. If it's your first time here, welcome to you. So we're gonna go through 5 of the things that I really like about Indianapolis, and these may not necessarily be something that you would think about all the time or something that you could really research consistently in places about Indianapolis, some of the positives. And these are positives in my mind. If you've got positives that'd be different from this, that's great. These are not objective things that you could absolutely measure. These are just things that I do like about it, and I think a lot of other people do like. And Indianapolis also isn't the only city to have these things. There are other cities in the country. So Indy and the surrounding cities, they could be for you, and then again, they may not be for you. So if you're online looking for information about any of these cities, then you're looking for perspectives. What do other people say? What are their opinions about it? And these just happen to be the opinions that I have. Okay, so the first one is that I don't even live in Indianapolis. I live in Greenfield, Indiana. And before that, I lived in Fishers, Indiana. And before that, I lived in a lot of different locations in Indianapolis. But right now, I don't even live in Indianapolis. But that plays into my point a little bit, is that Indy is considered by a lot of people a big city, and a lot of people, no, it's not, it's a medium-sized city. And I'd probably have to agree with the medium-sized city people. So when you get to 1 million people, now we're talking bigger. And Indy's not quite there. Indy's in the 900s, so it's very close. So it could probably reasonably be said that it's more of a medium-sized city, but when you take all of the surrounding cities and towns, it becomes a lot larger. There's 2 million people when you include Indianapolis and Carmel and Greenwood and Noblesville and Plainfield and Avon and Greenwood, if I mentioned that already, Brownsburg, McCordsville, Fortville, all of these places equate to 2 million people. So it's significant enough, but I still associate with Indy because I feel like it's small enough that it just isn't that far to get from one place to another. So again, we live in Greenfield. If you don't know where that is, it's east of Indianapolis. If you take I-70 east, it'd be the first city that you get to, and not a very big city. We're talking maybe 24-ish thousand people or so. And it can feel very rural in parts of Greenfield, especially when you get further east. It's not so much to the west side of it, it's more suburbia or like a rural suburban feel. It's a little more open, but it's a little more densely populated. But it's not a city, and it's not urban like what I'm here on Mass Ave right now. But from our place in Greenfield, it takes less than 30 minutes to where I am right now in Mass Ave, or on Massachusetts Avenue. That kind of plays into number 2. So it's big enough to have everything, yet small enough to where it doesn't feel like it's going to swallow you up. It's just the balance of that makes it so it's not incredibly busy all of the time, where it's always a struggle to get from one place to another, where the traffic is just completely unbearable. Traffic is a controversial topic anywhere as you go. It's definitely controversial around here. But in my opinion, it is just not that bad. And I'm not saying I'm super well traveled, but I think for an average person, I'm pretty well traveled. I've been to not every continent in the world, but most of them, actually. So you leave off Antarctica and some of these huge cities around the world. And I've spent some time in those, and in my opinion, the traffic in those cities is without a doubt worse than here. Their infrastructure is on average worse than here, and it is flat out harder to get around. At least if you have public transportation, that helps, but public transportation, oftentimes those places, very crowded. Maybe it's not stressful for you, but I'm not used to it. It's a little stressful for me, and even if it's not stressful, it's just a little bit of work. Around here, it's still a little bit of work to get around places, especially when it's crowded, but a day like today, it's easy. If this were a Saturday afternoon, it'd be a little harder, but then the highways and all of that leading here would be easier. Today, the interstate getting here through some construction was a little bit more troublesome for me. I feel like if you've never been anywhere in the world, even some of the bigger places in the United States, if you've never been there and really seen what busy and congested is like, then I can certainly see you feeling like Indianapolis is going to be something that's almost overwhelming. But if you've been to some other places where, I mean, it's definitely worse than this, and it could objectively be measured to where, opinions aside, the traffic is absolutely worse in that location, and you come back and compare it here, it's just going to be so much easier. Whoop, stepping out in front of cars now. Speaking of busy, you still need to make sure that you're watching for cars and using crosswalks and all that stuff. And I'm trying to go against the grain here a little bit. So if you say that traffic is the worst you've ever seen around Indianapolis, well, you're in the extreme, just like somebody else who says it's not anything at all. The probable honest truth is that it's how you see it. That's the truth. But the probable honest truth is that it's really somewhere in between. And Indy is kind of that in-between city. It's not too big, it's not too small. So the traffic and the congestion and the busyness is somewhere in there too. Next point is that Indy is big enough to have huge events and huge things happening here every single year. It has enormous sports teams, of course. Well, enormous is a matter of opinion, of course, but it has the Fever, it has the Pacers, it has the Colts. It doesn't have MLB, which is completely fine, actually, because we've got the others and they're big enough. But we've got the Indians, which is the AAA team for the Pirates, and it's the most incredible little stadium and one of the least expensive family things to do in the entire city. And it's phenomenal for kids because you can run around there and it's just so accessible. It's so nice to do. Again, opinion. You may hate baseball and you may hate Victory Field and all that stuff, but hey, that's just one of the things, again, that I love about it, and I know a lot of other people like about it. But of course, you've got enormous events like the Indy 500, which is obviously a huge sporting event in the entire world, biggest single-day sporting event in the world, hundreds of thousands of people. And it's not just the Indy 500, but the whole month of May, there's stuff going on at the track. Actually, there's stuff going on at the track all year long, and a lot of people don't know that. And there's more racing around Indianapolis, and actually a lot of people don't know that either. It is a big racing city, but you don't have to be a race fan to like it. I don't like racing all that much. I don't know that much about racing, to be honest. I just didn't grow up doing it or around it, even though I grew up close to here, relatively close, a few hours away, but it's huge. And then just not only that, let me run through this list so I don't leave any out, even though I'm gonna leave some out, just so I can run it through my head, all the other places that can have big events like concerts. The Murat Theater, I can actually see the tower of it right up here, the Murat Theater and the Egyptian Room. Huge Broadway shows there, off-Broadway, they come here. we've seen in there, and really, really great concerts. You've also got Gainsbridge Fieldhouse, where the Pacers and the Fever play. You've got Lucas Oil Stadium, which has the Colts, but also has a million other concerts and shows, especially huge ones like Taylor Swift. You've got right next to Victory Field, you've got Everwise Amphitheater. Oh, this truck is loud. That's better. Well, that thing was cranking. So Everwise, you have Ruoff up in Noblesville, which, and if it's a big concert, it's going to be either at Lucas Oil, that would be huge, Gainbridge, if it's needing to be inside, and then you have Ruoff, which is going to be the biggest, actually a little bit bigger than Gainbridge. So it's outside though, so weather dependent, and that means you can't have them in the winter. But then you also have the Hilbert Circle Theater, Indiana Repertory Theater. You've got other smaller theaters along here on Mass Ave. You've got them downtown. You've got them in Carmel as well, Performing Arts, the Palladium. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. There is a lot here. Is it New York City? No, but I think everybody's pretty realistic about that. And it's pretty good for a city the size that it is. Plus restaurants, the food scene. Food scene is really good in a lot of places. Indy is on that list too. The food scene, there are plenty of really great pockets of really great restaurants. And I'm not talking about Longhorn Steakhouse or O'Charlie's or places like that. We're talking about original places, Indy original places that you're only gonna find here, and that's it. So with that, I just find it funny when a lot of people say Indianapolis is boring. Well, if you find it boring, I don't think you're looking hard enough, or maybe it just doesn't have the right things for you. Maybe you really like to do some other things, and you're only gonna find those in other cities. But you can't say it's boring because that is just your opinion, and it doesn't match what you have to say. So I think that's ridiculous. I actually don't think there are very many cities and towns across the entire country that are boring. And it could be a town of 5,000 people in some rural part of West Texas. And I may not like it or find that there's really much for me to do there, but there still are things to do there. It's just not really what I want to do. So it just doesn't match. But I'm not gonna call it boring because it's kind of like my kids coming to me and we have 2 days off where there's nothing going on and they say, what am I gonna do? I'm bored. There's plenty to do. You need to go find it yourself and get into it and stop complaining about it. And this last point is that if you've been here before, you know what it's like. But if you've never been here before, a lot of people are fairly surprised at the beauty. You might be watching this video and laugh at that. I wonder why you're laughing. I don't know what your definition of beauty is. If you're looking for mountains and oceans, and that's your definition of beauty, it has to have those things, well, great, that's fine. Go look at mountainous, oceanside cities. If we're getting into opinions, me, being from this part of the country, this is what I like. I do not like a desert landscape. I think it's pretty, definitely, but would I want to live there? Not a bit. I like to visit for 3 days, 5 days, a week, whatever it is, but I'm ready to get out of there at that point. And then on the ocean, if we're talking about boring, I get a little bored after so many days at the beach. But it's not boring. It's just that it's not what I'm used to. It's not what I really enjoy as home, but there's nothing wrong with it. But when people come here, they think it's just gonna be all open, farmland, and a lot of Indiana, of course, is like that. A lot of the Midwest is like that. You get into Illinois, you get into Ohio some, you get into Kentucky, you get into, now we're getting to southern states though. There's another argument. But if you get into Missouri, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Nebraska, all these states in the center of the country, let's say, there's a lot of farmland. But northern Indiana is a lot like that. Northern Indiana is very flat, it's very open, there's a lot of farmland. And actually, that has its own beauty, I think. I like driving through there and seeing that. I don't think I'd want to live in that part, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. Some super cool little towns and little cities sprinkled all through northern Indiana. My opinion, if they're cool. Southern Indiana, though, is really surprising to people. When you get just south of Indianapolis, the terrain starts to change. It starts to get a little bit more rolling, and then you eventually get into some pretty large hills, and it's very forested. So Indiana was completely covered with forests. There's a joke that you could have a squirrel go from Ohio to Illinois or back and never touch the ground. Many, many years ago, of course. A lot of those trees, unfortunately, have been taken down. You have cities built and farmland and all of that, and it's changed. But the southern part of Indiana is shocking to people. When you get down into Brown County or Monroe, the state forest there, and Nashville, Indiana, and Bloomington, Indiana, it's totally different than what people realize. But even then, I don't need that to think that it's really pretty. But again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and usually the beholder is influenced by their own perceptions and opinions and perspectives and what's comfortable as well. And what's comfortable for me is walking across the street without having to worry about hitting by a car, but comfortable to me is green trees, lots of trees, green grass, lush, a little bit of humidity in the summer, a cold winter, and just the way things generally look around Indiana. I'm used to it, and I really like it, and I love to go to other places. I'm not hating on the desert. I love to go to the desert and desert cities and desert locations like some of the national parks in the country, but I just don't want to live there. It's beautiful, but doesn't feel like home to me. This feels like home to me. And some people could be looking for this and think it might fit them, while others might think there's no way I could live there. Just like I think about, I don't think I could live right on the beach. I know it would wear off on me, and I know I couldn't live in those places that just hardly ever see any rain 6 months out of the year. To have a day like this, perfectly sunny and beautiful, fantastic. But once I start getting on the third day of this or so, like, ugh, could we just get some clouds and hide the sun a little bit? Now that sounds a little bit weird maybe to people that live in super, super sunny locations, or something just totally different, but I like a little bit of the variety to it. So the variety in the landscape, and also just the variety in that weather, it just feels good. I could go on and on, but I'll wear out your battery on your phone if you're watching this on your phone. And there are other reasons, of course, but narrowed it down at least to those 5. And you may or may not agree with them, like I said, but you're gonna find a lot of people like me who agree with me around Indianapolis. They like it for various reasons, but these are some fairly consistent ones. So if you have questions about Indianapolis or living around here, or whether it could be a fit or not is probably the more important thing, really, to eliminate it as a possibility, then reach out any way that you know how, and we'll catch you in the next one.